Hi, everyone, and welcome to the UBC Engineering International Student Session. My name is Kyle Watson. My pronouns are he, him. I'm an engineering advisor at UBC's Okanagan Campus with the School of Engineering. Thank you for joining this International Student Session here today. UBC has built its Vancouver campus on the unceded, ancestral, and traditional territory of the Musqueam people, and the Okanagan campus was built on the traditional and ancestral unceded territory of the Silk Okanagan people. Our programs, I'd like to take a moment to chat about programs. You've been hearing a lot today already. The degree that UBC engineering students earn is a Bachelor of Applied Science, and there are several specializations to choose from. You also may hear these referred to as programs. You might familiarize yourself with the same reference as a major. At UBC, our engineering degree is the Bachelor of Applied Science. In Canada, there is no standard naming degrees in engineering. So you might find at other institutions across Canada, they may have a Bachelor of Science in Engineering or a Bachelor of Engineering. For us, it's a Bachelor of Applied Science. What is important to know and make sure is that the institution you're going to be studying at is an accredited engineering degree. This means the program meets the academic requirements so that after, when students graduate, they can work towards the proper licensure as a professional engineer in Canada. You won't have to worry about that at UBC. All of our programs are accredited, and you will be right on your path to becoming an engineer in training and hopefully a professional engineer in future. At UBC, there is one application, one degree, two world-renowned campuses to choose from. The Okanagan campus is located in the city named Kelowna. It is about 4-hour drive east of the Vancouver campus, or maybe an hour flight. The Vancouver campus is located just west of Vancouver proper on the west coast of British Columbia and in Canada. Regardless of which campus you apply to, you will be starting in the foundational first year program. All engineers take the same set of courses in first year, regardless of which program or specialization they decide to pursue. We take a heavy focus in that foundational first year on chemistry, physics, math, English. We want to build you with the appropriate foundation so that you not only succeed in our program, but life beyond your UBC undergraduate degree. If we take a closer look at the Okanagan campus, there are 4 engineering undergraduate programs or specializations to choose from. They are listed here on the screen: civil engineering, electrical engineering, manufacturing engineering, and mechanical engineering. Specialization can also be referred to as a major. Like I said, students will choose their specialization after their first year through what's called the second year placement process. There is a second year placement process on both campuses. On the Okanagan campus, we don't have any caps on our program. What does that mean? You're guaranteed your first choice, whichever you deem to choose. If you want to pursue manufacturing engineering on the Okanagan campus, you will be given that first choice. On the Vancouver campus, there are 14 specializations to choose from. Civil, mechanical, electrical, and manufacturing is also available on the Vancouver campus, plus 10 more programs to choose from. The second year placement process is a little bit different on the Vancouver campus. It is competitive. What that means essentially, at the end of your first year, you're going to be ranking your specializations in your preference. Number 1 to number 14, you list them all and you will compete for your first choice. It may be that you will earn your first choice, you may earn your third choice, but for more details on that, you can speak with an advisor or you can check out the Vancouver Engineering website. It outlines the full process in detail. Reputation. As an international student coming to UBC and UBC Engineering, there is so much for you to look forward to throughout your degree. When we take a look at UBC Rankings, UBC ranks number 1 in Canada, top 10 in North America, top 50 in the world. We are a prestigious university in terms of that reputation. Our global impact, we are number 1 in industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Number 3 in climate action, and number 5 in sustainable cities and communities. Within engineering, UBC's reputation, we've just actually jumped up to #1 according to Maclean's magazine as of last week. We also have the largest co-op program in Western Canada. Thank you to Jennifer for that very inspiring co-op presentation earlier. She is part of that #1 program. Scholarships and awards. As an international secondary student, if you're demonstrating exceptional academic achievement and strong extracurricular and community involvement, you will automatically be considered for these awards. They value up to $25,000 per year. We have awards that are needs-based or merit-based and available through UBC's International Scholars Program. UBC offers approximately 50 scholarships each year across all 4 awards. You won't select which award you're going to receive when you submit your application. Our team actually does that for you. Automatically, you'll be considered for the award that you're eligible for. And to be eligible for these awards, you want to make sure that your school or nonprofit program is nominating you by November 15th. Scholarship decisions are usually made anywhere from mid-March through to the end of April. For more information on scholarships, we have that listed on our website. I'll be sharing some links with you at the end of the presentation. The rest of the session today is going to be open for Q&A. We have some current students and a student alumni that are here to join us and answer questions that are available for you. On the right-hand side of your screen, click to the tab for Q&A. We prefer you to place your questions in there rather than the event chat, and we'll be able to moderate throughout. If you're looking to follow up for more information on anything that's been covered today, UBC's websites are quite extensive, and we do have specific information for each of the campuses. One of the main sites here, you.ubc.ca, that's where you'll go to begin your application. It's also where you can find more information about admission requirements, awards, lots of information there. Engineering.ubc.ca is where you can begin your journey exploring more information about Vancouver campuses, engineering programs, and engineering.ok.ubc.ca is where you can check out more information related to UBC Okanagan's campus for engineering. We also have an awesome program, the UBC Engineering Stories team. These are current students in engineering, creating all sorts of fun social content for you to check out. If you want to learn more about fun places to eat, favorite place to study, or maybe what it was like for them traveling from their home to UBC, there's some cool stuff to check out on that story site. I'm going to toggle my screen over from the presentation into a screen share with the rest of our students here. Just give me a moment as we get set up. Okay, perfect. We have students joining us today, Veronica and Joseph. If you're comfortable toggling off of mute and your camera, that's wonderful. I can see Joseph, I can see Veronica there. So thank you so much for joining us. We are going to run through some Q&A. So on the right-hand side, if you select the session, you'll then be able to see the Q&A where you can enter some questions. I see some questions coming through in the chat from there. Before we begin, I'd like the students to give a brief introduction about themselves. Veronica, maybe we can start with you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Singh, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm a second-year student in materials engineering on the Vancouver campus. And originally, I'm from New Delhi, India.
Thank you, Veronica. Joseph, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Joseph, pronounced like Moses. Some people call me Jesus too. That's pretty cool. I am an alumnus. I graduated in 2018. I'm originally from Uganda, and my pronouns are he and him. And I currently work as a transportation infrastructure engineer with the city of Surrey. And I'm excited to be here to answer some questions related to the international student experience. Oh, and I did go to the UBC Okanagan Campus. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I'd like to start a question off for Veronica. Perhaps, Veronica, you can share with our student guests here today one piece of advice that you have that helped you when choosing engineering.
One piece of advice that I got from my teachers when I was in high school deciding which university to go to was, don't even think of applying to UBC. You don't have a chance of getting in, which may be a negative advice to give, but that piece of advice motivated me to apply to UBC and put my best foot forward and to see what happens. Because it's like, if you don't try, you always keep thinking what could have happened. So even if you think your application is not that strong, just apply to the program and see how it goes.
Thank you, Veronica. We have some questions in the chat here. There is a question here. Can we apply to biomedical engineering directly? This is a great question. Students will apply to UBC. On your application, you actually have two choices to choose from. This is covered more in detail from the admission session if you wanted to go to the replay section, but essentially you're applying to the Bachelor of Applied Science. Your choice one might be Bachelor of Applied Science on the Okanagan campus. And if it's really important for you to be a student at the Okanagan campus and you're indifferent between engineering and maybe a science degree, you might choose your second choice as a different degree also on the Okanagan campus. Or you might say, I want engineering or bust, and your first choice is Vancouver, Bachelor of Applied Science, and your second choice is UBC Okanagan, Bachelor of Applied Science. You don't actually apply or choose your specialization until after you've completed your first year of study at UBC. We covered that briefly at the beginning, but that was right at the very start. So students on the Okanagan campus, we are small enough at this time that you can just declare your specialization. On the Vancouver campus, you compete for it through what's called the second year placement. And there's much more information about that on UBC's site. You can also chat with an engineer about that. I have a question for Joseph. When you were choosing to come to Canada for your university experience, what were some things that were important to you when considering all the different campuses?
Yeah, good question, Kyle. My choice of the Okanagan campus actually was something that I have to admit I didn't look too closely into. When I learned about the opportunity to come to Canada and to UBC specifically, it was through my career guidance advisor back in Uganda, and she knew about my background. She knew I come from quite a small town in Uganda called Kabale that has less than I know now the population has grown, but at that time it was close to like maybe 8,000 people, so very small town. And so it also had the geography of the place. It has like these mountains, this freshwater lake, and so when she was telling me about this opportunity, like I know the Okanagan campus has similarities between, like Kelowna in the Okanagan campus, Kelowna where the Okanagan campus is located has similarities between your hometown, Kabale, and basically where you're going. So she's like, I strongly recommend that you check it out. So I went on the internet and I googled and I was like, oh my god, this place really looks exactly like my hometown, and that really inspired me and actually influenced me to just make that one choice, the Okanagan campus. And I basically was on that plane. I came here, and everyone I arrived, even just in the plane, you look out of the window, you're like, yep, she wasn't kidding. And when I touched down, for me, it was like this moment of truth of like, oh my God, this is happening. And over time, as I got to experience the area, the campus in itself, I was like, this is a great decision for me. And what really affirmed it was the campus was small enough that I could, move around the campus. It was easy for me to make friends because of that close-knit community. The class sizes were much smaller. And I remember comparing at that time with one of my other friends from Uganda who had gone to the Vancouver campus, like let's share notes. That after the end of first year, we kind of like share notes about each other's campuses, and we can figure out if we want to switch over to the other one. And it just turned out that we both had our reasons for liking our particular campuses. Mine it was just much smaller. The community, the town itself was much smaller, so I wasn't too overwhelmed by the big city experience. And so that was just affirmed it for me, and I'm really glad that I went to school there.
Thank you for sharing, Joseph. When you're choosing where to study for your university degree, there's a lot of things to factor in, and you might be deciding between engineering and a different degree of study, but it's very important to consider that campus, that city, where you're going to live. After all, it's going to become your new home for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it may be. And it's important to look into that to see what it might be like to be living there on that campus in that city. If you're able to be traveling to those campuses beforehand as you make your decisions, of course, it's going to be a great opportunity for you to put yourself in the shoes of a student on that campus. But there's also ways to connect virtually. There's campus tours that you can check out. There are many videos. I mentioned that engineering stories team that we have. There's ways to connect virtually and have a virtual experience of that particular campus as you picture yourself there living life as a student.
Yeah,
it's a big decision, making that decision of where to study, where to move to. And I think one of the important things to keep in mind is you're looking to create a new sense of belonging, a new community, a new home, really. What we're really proud about at UBC, we are one application, one degree, but we have 2 campuses to choose from, each with their own unique advantages, where hopefully between the 2 of them, you might find yourself at home. Veronica, when you first arrived at UBC, what were some of the things that you felt helped you find that sense of community, that sense of home on campus?
So the first time I arrived in Vancouver was last year in the middle of the pandemic, and I had to travel by myself because my parents couldn't get the visa done in time. So it was an experience traveling by myself without my parents for the first time in my life, moving to a new country away from home. I think the thing that helped me most going through that first couple of months settling in was the community at UBC. Everybody is so welcoming here and so helpful. Like, even talking academically, I don't think I've done even a single assignment without my friends being there with me. So that feel of the community and like group and finding your friends, it's not really difficult here.
Thank you so much, Veronica. I'm going to shift into the Q&A. We've got some questions coming through. Thank you so much, students. Question here from Anina. For international student from Australia, how would the education system connect to Canadian one? And since they finished their grade 12 in December instead of June or July, and we've got some more follow-up there on when to apply. This is a great question, Anita. Our student recruitment and advisors will be the best team to connect with. The you.ubc.ca website is where you can go to connect with them. I'll try to share a link into that chat in the response to follow up. And from there, each of you can connect with a student recruiter advisor, chat about your current courses, make sure you're taking the correct courses to maintain admission requirements, and you can also follow the appropriate admission cycle for your start at UBC's campus. It's important to know that UBC works on an annual cycle. When you are applying for UBC, you're typically applying for to be automatically considered for scholarships and awards. There might be an earlier application deadline, like that November 5th nomination, but ultimately all applications are typically in by January 15th to be considered for September start date that same calendar year. Good question from Anina. Another question here, how many spots in UBC Engineering is open to international students? This is also a great question. I think I would defer to our admissions office. As far as I know, I don't believe there are specific caps set. Students are competing within that given applicant pool. It's competitive and comparative based on the number of students applying in that year, but I will defer to our friends in admissions. That would be the same student recruiter and advisors from there. Another great question from a student here, do we have time to join sports teams while studying in engineering? How do tryouts work? This is a great question. I would encourage you, if you're an athlete, to check out our sports websites at UBC Vancouver. We are the Thunderbirds at UBC Okanagan. You are part part of the heat teams. There are prospective student athlete forms that you can fill out well in advance that will let the coach know that you're interested, and you can follow a dialogue from there. Most sports teams for varsity do also offer open tryouts. There are also multiple levels. There's varsity sports, there's club sports, which is a little bit less intensive. There's intramural sports. I'm going to transition sports to clubs within engineering or clubs on campus. There's a lot of different ways to get involved, and you have the ability to reduce your course load. Our athletes typically take 4 courses per term, whereas a full-time student in engineering taking the max number of courses possible would be in 6 courses per term. You as a student, you have the flexibility to adjust your course load and take as much time as you wish to spread out your degree. There are some minimum registration requirements, though, tied particularly to maybe a student visa or a scholarship, but usually you're going to be in around that 4 course load amount. Joseph, when you were a student on the Okanagan campus, did you get involved with any clubs or organizations outside of your classroom?
Oh, I did. And actually somebody earlier, just going off of that question earlier about joining sports, I didn't really try out for a university team, but I was involved in intramurals, which was one of the awesome ways to make friends on campus. And it's they're usually like, you don't need any skill to play intramurals. It's essentially just a community of people that signed up to play a particular sport. And I was playing soccer or football, which is what I've always known it, football and basketball. It was fun because it was in the evenings after classes. So I was able to connect with students from other programs, and we just play a game of basketball and go out for a bite afterwards. It was really cool, and so I made a lot of my friends. But specifically for clubs, I was involved in I actually pioneered in the setup of the global engineering community, which is a student-led club that focuses primarily on it is bridging that gap between the international student body and the faculty and staff, as well as the upper level students. So essentially we are targeting first years and second years and trying to bridge that connection and just break down those barriers between their interactions with other upper level students, as well as faculty and staff. And this was through really easy stuff like having a cup of tea together. So there's the International Collegium on campus, and we just meet up, have some tea, different varieties of international teas from all over the world, and we just hang out basically. And when staff and faculty would come in, it was more so like, this person is not only your professor, but is coming to interact with you as a person, as a friend, and get to know you, which helped outside of the classroom experience, but also even in the classroom itself, because you've sort of broken down that barrier. I was also involved in the African and Caribbean Student Club, which was, it is still a very well-functioning club that helped to unite African and Caribbeans in the Okanagan campus, and we were able to have lots of events. One of my favorite was the African Gala, where we used to dress up in our traditional outfits from our various countries, and would meet up sort of like for a dinner, and there was some sort of like modeling contest as well, which was really nice, and some really good food. So I really enjoyed that. Also in engineering, I was part of the Engineering Society, which is also a student-led club that provides support to engineering students at all levels, from first year to the final year. And it was a great opportunity to get to know what's happening on campus, to get to know how to survive in the School of Engineering, the resources that students share among themselves. We used to get free textbooks from some of the students that were done with those classes without having to buy them from the bookstore, which can be a bit expensive. So that was one of those clubs that really helped through my experience. And there were other clubs that I was involved in just as a member. And most of those, it was through curiosity, just to try something new, figure out what's happening on campus. And I ended up joining at some point, which was very interesting, but I joined a club that was specifically for nurses. I don't know how they let me in, but it was nice to just know what nurses do. And it was exciting because those opportunities are available. And if you are curious or interested, especially on the first day of campus, there is a student set up booths and you can just approach them and ask about it, and just sign up, and you'll never know what opportunities you'll get, what connections and friendships you'll make. And up to date, I'm still in touch with a lot of those people, and we still hang out and talk about those days, and it's always fun.
Thank you, Joseph. Joseph, you certainly were very involved on campus, and I will also share Joseph not only made such a strong impression on campus during his engineering degree. Obviously, he's doing well as an engineer in the workforce, but we've actually stayed connected with Joseph, and he assists the UBC Okanagan School of Engineering Academic Services team with international student advising. So there is opportunity to stay connected with myself, with Joseph and Veronica beyond this session. We're here to answer questions today, but absolutely moving forward for you. Veronica, we have a question for you directly from the Q&A. This is a great one. Thank you. When you traveled alone to Canada, did university help you settle in, and what help did UBC offer for making that adjustment?
That's a great question. So unfortunately, when I traveled was in the middle of the semester because of travel restrictions last year. However, if you do enroll for a program called Jumpstart, they help you with things like setting up your phone number or just like generally settling in. So the university does offer that help for international students.
Thank you, Veronica. And also on each campus, there is a dedicated team towards international students who can assist with things like study permit renewals or getting a bank account set up, maybe a phone. There's a whole team that's there available to you for each campus and ready to assist with any questions that you have. Maybe you are choosing engineering because that is something you are interested in and you're curious and you want to study more at university, but you don't quite know what you want to do for a career after your degree. Some students think the opposite way. They have a career in mind, they know what they want to do, and they work backwards. What degree do I need to get into that career? If we jump a little bit ahead, Joseph, can you share some advice that you might have for students when transitioning from university into the workforce?
Good question. I'd say specifically for international students, I often say this, that we sort of, it's a little bit different, transitioning from, the campus or student experience to the workforce, because in most organizations, they do require that reference. And a lot of international students, we have maybe references from back home for some of, the summer opportunities we're involved in and the like. And it tends to be a little bit challenging getting into the workforce because there's not really somebody who can vouch for you. And this is where your campus community comes in very handy. And I'm talking about your professors. I'm talking about, people like Kyle and myself who can interact with you on as needed basis. I'm talking about, folks that even your own friends that you meet on campus that can vouch for you, and also available on campus opportunities that you could do. I had an opportunity to work with the student housing and hospitality services, and through that I was able to develop a connection with the people there, and I could have them as a reference and vouch for me in terms of my work ethic. And I think we had Jennifer Everly speak about the co-op experience, which was also very, very important for me, particularly because after going through the co-op experience, I had not only the work experience, but also the connections and the references to vouch for me, for my work ethic. So it was really important to have that as a background. Now, for students who may not have joined the co-op experience or are not necessarily, for some reason, interested in the co-op experience, I would still say that make sure you get opportunities to work on campus or off campus and get those references, because they'll be very handy for you. In terms of the transition itself, it wasn't. It was a bit of a shocker for most part, because when you're a student, you sort of have a structure that you get used to. You know, you go to classes, and then you go do your assignments with friends, perhaps, or you go back to your dorm room and you work on your assignments, and then you have some time to attend student activities and the like. But when you go to the workplace, it's a different kind of structure. Most organizations are working from, say, 9 to 5. Others have flexible hours, but the standard is like 9 to 5. And so you get in there, and you get the orientation of your roles and what you're supposed to do. And a lot of the times they tell you, hey, we know you're from school, but we're going to kind of help you with the transition into the workplace, because it does take a bit of a toll on you in a way, because it's just a totally different thing. I like to compare it to my experience in coming to Canada for the first time. I was familiar with Uganda, with my home setup, with my friends and community there. And when I came here, it was starting afresh. I didn't know anybody. It was brand new. And in the workplace, it's sort of like that. What you have, you've learned some tools and resources, and generally you have the technical experience to thrive in the workplace. But when you get in there, it's sort of like developing a community as well, figuring out a way to, not only perform your duties, but also find a work-life balance as well. And so it's a transition period that can be a bit haunting for some people, but every organization that I've worked with has that support. And if you are fortunate, you'll get to an organization that has folks like myself and Kyle that are very supportive, and Veronica as well, that are very supportive, and they will help you with the transition. What I would advise is that, don't be threatened by it by any chance. Once you have gotten that offer and gotten that opportunity to work with that organization, they are willing to do anything and everything to make sure that you thrive. And they will give you all the support that you need. And you just have to ask for it when you feel like you're stuck. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joseph. At UBC, there's a team of staff or students that are available to assist, but oftentimes it takes that student, taking the initiative to reach out, to ask for help, and then once you do, you're surrounded with all of the sports that are there. We have one more question from the chat here. Do you have services to pick up students from the airport? Veronica mentioned earlier the Jumpstart program. This is a wonderful program. It's almost an orientation where you arrive on campus a week early before the start of classes. You, along with all of the other Jumpstart students, get to see where your classes are, move into the dorms, try the food out, get comfortable, make some new friends before classes start. That program does usually include airport pickups if you were not participating in Jumpstart and arriving at a different time. Maybe we were right in the middle of a global pandemic, much like what Veronica experienced arriving on campus. That's where our international student offices from each campus is there to assist and help with those coordinations of arrival. We've gone a little bit over time here. I know our students are happy to do so. I want to be mindful of their time. Joseph has work to prepare for on Monday. Veronica, who is not only a student, but also carries work study position on campus here, is also preparing for midterms. If you have any last minute questions in the chat, we might be able to answer one more here, but I will include contact links for both the Vancouver Engineering Advising Team and the Okanagan Engineering Advising Team. We would love to be available for you moving forward. If you want to join our virtual drop-in advising through Zoom, you could do so and chat live with an advisor. If you want to send us an email, that also works as well. And if you have questions specific for Joseph and Veronica, we'd be happy to put you in touch with them through those two portals. If I could maybe turn it back over to Veronica. The students here that are joining, they might be in grade 10, planning ahead, or maybe they're in their final high school year before applying. What was some advice you can give to students when preparing for the application and getting ready for that, submitting that application to UBC?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more with Joseph when he said, just don't be afraid of what you're applying to do. Like if you're planning to apply for an international university versus a university that is a degree that is close to home, I would definitely suggest that you go for the international experience, because it's not only an academic experience that you get, you really learn a lot of life skills when you move away from home. And like when I moved to Vancouver, not only did I learn how to study properly and change my technique from high school, but I also learned how to socialize, and I learned a lot more about different cultures across the globe. And you gain a lot of networking skills too, which are helpful for you in the future.
I want to thank Joseph and Veronica for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here today, and for each of you for joining us for this international student session. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.